Welcome back to the Deep Dive. This is where we take a stack of dense, critical source material, strip away all the noise, and really just hand you the most potent, actionable insights. Today, we are tackling one of the most high-stakes professional challenges there is, securing a coveted global position.
It's an environment that's just, defined by intense competition. Your technical skills might get you the interview, sure.
To get your foot in the door.
Exactly. But those skills alone are not enough to land the job. Not even close, especially when that interview is in English and you're often crossing these cultural communication divides.
Right. So we looked at research spanning behavioral science, linguistic analysis for professional settings, and high-performance communication models. And our mission today for you, the listener, is absolutely clear. We want you to move beyond just, reciting your resume.
Or just answering questions factually.
Yes. We want you to engage the interviewer, to make your unique experiences unforgettable and position you as not just a candidate, but the essential solution they've been looking for.
If you can do that, if you can synthesize precision in English with a really persuasive narrative structure, you completely transform their perception of you. You stop being just a data point on a spreadsheet.
And you start becoming an investment they feel they cannot afford to miss.
That's it.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Starting right at the foundation. The linguistic toolkit. We're opening here because, every great story, every successful negotiation, it all rests on a bedrock of clear professional language. If your English is hesitant or vague or way too casual, even the most impressive achievement is just going to lose its shine. So we need to elevate your English beyond just basic grammar.
It's about conveying genuine precision and professionalism. Precision it's the professional currency. It's the difference between sounding like you generally understand a concept and sounding like an expert who's actually implemented it successfully.
And for a global role, that's everything. Your language has to signal that you're operating at the absolute highest level.
A huge part of this is mastering industry-specific terminology.
And we're not talking about just throwing buzzwords around.
No, not at all. We're talking about using field-relevant jargon so deeply that you can then, explain it simply. That's what signals you're truly in the know.
It's a credibility marker.
A massive one. I mean, think about the difference. If you're in a tech interview and you say, "We made the code better," what does that actually convey?
Almost nothing. It's weak. It suggests you were just doing basic maintenance.
Exactly. But if you use precise vocabulary, you communicate this complex strategic action almost immediately.
Right. So the experienced candidate says what?
The experienced candidate says, "We optimize the algorithm for scalability and performance." See? Optimization is a specific action. Scalability and performance, those are measurable, high-value objectives.
That one sentence communicates so much. Strategic intent, technical depth, a focus on future growth.
It's a complete package. And we see the same pattern everywhere. Take marketing. If you tell a hiring manager, "We got more people to see our ads," that's passive. It's generic.
It tells them nothing about your role in the process.
But a professional frames it through metrics and process. We increased our customer acquisition rate through targeted digital campaigns.
Okay, so that demonstrates command over KPIs, like customer acquisition rate, and it shows you understand the strategic mechanism, the targeted campaign.
You're showing you understand the mechanism of success, not just the outcome. And building on that, we have to talk about the power of active verbs.
This is such a critical point. For an English learner, shifting from passive to active voice might be the fastest way to inject agency and confidence into your narrative.
It really is. Active verbs place you firmly in the role of the person driving the outcome. Compare the passive structure. "The project was completed by me." It sounds so distant.
Yeah, it's almost like the project just happened to you.
But when you switch it to the active voice, the focus sharpens immediately. "I completed the project." It's direct, it's accountable, and it's confident.
And what about that other common one I was involved in?
That's a classic. "I was involved in developing the strategy." It just suggests you were in the room, maybe you brought coffee.
Right.
It's so much more powerful to take ownership. "I developed the strategy." Or, even better, "I spearheaded the strategy development." That highlights initiative, leadership qualities that are absolutely critical in global roles.
Okay, so let's pivot slightly to tone. For these high-stakes global positions, maintaining professional decorum, that line between formal and informal, is paramount. Why do our sources stress avoiding slang and casual expressions so much?
Because interviewers are assessing your potential to represent the company on a global stage. In formal business communication, clarity and structure are prioritized. And the easiest rule to apply, particularly for non-native speakers, is to minimize or just eliminate contractions.
So using do not instead of don't and cannot instead of can't. Why does that one small detail add with the source called gravity and structure?
Well, contractions are shortcuts, right? They're designed for speed and informality in spoken English. By using the full form, you slow your delivery down just a little, which projects thoughtfulness.
I see.
And more importantly, in high-stakes formal spoken English internationally, the full forms are just the standard. So adhering to that standard shows you respect the formality of the situation. It reduces ambiguity and it reinforces your professional image.
So if an interviewer asks how a project went, you absolutely avoid saying, yeah, it was pretty cool.
Definitely. Instead, you select language that supports your professional image. Yes, it was a valuable experience, or maybe I found the results to be highly encouraging.
And finally, under this section, the quick confidence killer words.
Yeah, yes. They signal hesitancy no matter how confident your actual content is. And this is a mental habit that requires conscious effort to break.
So what's the strategy?
The strategy is to train yourself to embrace silence. Instead of reflexively using, or you're searching for the next word, just practice pausing. A 1 or 2 second pause is interpreted very differently by a listener than a filler word.
A pause signals reflection.
And a filler signals unpreparedness. It's all about projecting composure.
Now, a lot of English learners feel this immense pressure to completely eradicate their accent, but our sources are very clear on this. The goal is clarity, not perfection.
Absolutely. The goal is clear articulation and just being easily understood by a diverse international audience. Your accent is a reflection of your identity, your background. It shouldn't be a source of anxiety.
So the focus should be on what?
On speaking at a moderate, thoughtful pace, a pace that allows you to fully enunciate complex words. Rushing just leads to swallowed syllables and, decreased clarity.
And since English is used globally, we have to talk about how subtle shifts in sound can change everything, specifically because English is a stress-timed language.
This is such a crucial concept for non-native speakers. Unlike, say, a syllable-timed language, English uses stress-so, emphasis, volume, duration uncertain to convey the main message. And where you place that stress can change the meaning entirely.
Okay, let's use that example again. I developed the new system.
Right. So by stressing developed, the focus is on the action itself. It's your personal high-effort contribution. But if the interviewer is really interested in innovation and you stress the word differently,
I developed the new system.
Exactly. The focus shifts to the novelty, the uniqueness, the innovation of the system.
Give us one more variation just to really drive this home.
Okay, let's say the conversation is about team collaboration and you say, I developed the new system. By stressing I, you're explicitly contrasting your contribution with other people's. Maybe it signals a solo effort or a moment of individual initiative that went above and beyond the team.
So mastering this dynamic stress allows you to strategically highlight the exact point you want the interviewer to focus on.
It's an incredibly powerful tool.
So how does someone practice this without getting completely overwhelmed?
It really comes down to practice with feedback. Self-recording is invaluable. Record your answers and then listen back, critically. Where did your voice rise and fall? Did you sound uncertain? A rising tone at the end of a statement often signals that.
Right, like you're asking a question.
Exactly. If you hear yourself rushing through complex terms, practice slowing down those specific sections. Then, seek targeted feedback. Ask native speakers or mentors, not just if they understood you, but what they heard you emphasize. It's an exercise in critical listening and self-correction.
Okay, this brings us to that classic dilemma for professional English learners.
Yeah.
Fluency versus accuracy. In a high-stakes setting like an interview, which one should you prioritize?
The sources, they prioritize fluency, or maybe more accurately, they prioritize flow. In an interview, it's about maintaining a smooth, confident train of thought. It is far, far better to speak fluently, even if you make a few minor grammatical errors, than to halt constantly to ensure perfect accuracy.
Let me challenge that for a second. If I speak too fluently, but my grammar is poor, won't that signal a lack of attention to detail? Or suggest my written communication might also suffer?
That's a fair concern, but the interview context is conversational. Fluency signals confidence, it signals engagement, and it shows you can process complex thoughts under pressure. If you're constantly interrupting your own flow to self-edit grammar, you sacrifice rapport, you break the narrative thread.
So interviewers are generally forgiving of minor spoken errors.
They are, if the overall communication is clear, professional, and confident.
So the key takeaway is that confidence in your message naturally leads to a greater sense of flow.
Precisely. When you prepare strong, compelling content, your stories, your examples, the urgency of conveying that narrative often just overrides the hesitancy you might have about minor linguistic slips. Focus on what you're saying and the how becomes easier.
And what about those moments when you do catch yourself slipping? We said don't just ignore it. So how do you correct it gracefully?
A quick, graceful self-correction actually enhances your professional image. It shows self-awareness and linguistic acuity. And the method is simple. Just quickly correct the error and immediately move on.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Let's say you realize you used the wrong tense. I'm currently leading that project. Or if you misused a pronoun, he told me the strategy needed revision. Keep it brief, smooth, and continue your story immediately.
We often forget that the words are only part of the message. The nonverbal language, the silent signals, can either reinforce your professional narrative or completely undermine it.
Oh, absolutely. And while nonverbal communication can vary culturally, the accepted norms in, let's say, Western professional interviews prioritize signals of engagement, confidence, and openness.
Let's start with eye contact.
Appropriate eye contact is crucial. It signals honesty, confidence, and engagement. You can aim for what they call the triangle gaze method. You periodically shift your gaze among the interviewer's two eyes and the bridge of their nose.
That prevents it from becoming an intense stare.
Exactly, while still maintaining that connection. And critically, in video interviews, this means looking into the camera lens, not at the image of the person on your screen. Looking away too frequently can be interpreted as evasiveness or low confidence.
And how should you carry yourself? Posture.
Your body language has to project openness and receptivity. Sit up straight. Leaning slightly forward signals interest and engagement in the conversation, and maintain an open posture. So avoid crossing your arms tightly across your chest, which can suggest defensiveness or being closed off.
What about fidgeting? That's a big one.
Yes. Fidgeting, tapping pens, shuffling papers, playing with your hair. These are all distracting behaviors that often indicate nervousness or a lack of focus.
So what's a good way to manage that nervous energy?
Try channeling it into slow, intentional hand gestures when you're making a key point.
Whoa.
Or you can simply flex your toes inside your shoes where it's totally invisible.
And simple act of smiling.
A genuine smile, especially when you're greeting the interviewer and concluding your discussion, conveys warmth, enthusiasm, and emotional intelligence. It's a fundamental tool for establishing rapport, which, as we'll discuss in the next section, is crucial for building trust. Hashtag tag 1.5 preparing your language toolkit.
Okay, so all of these elements need to be organized into a robust, tailored toolkit before the interview. And the first step is deep research into the company's own linguistic footprint.
Yes, this is what we call researching keywords. You should integrate company-specific language directly into your answers to show genuine alignment. Review their recent public statements, their mission, their CEO's letters to stakeholders.
And if they consistently use terms like customer delight or disruptive innovation,
you weave those exact phrases into your stories about your past successes. It sends this powerful subconscious signal that you already speak the company's language.
And for the English learner, while fluency is the goal, the prep process has to start on paper.
It absolutely does. That initial writing stage is essential for refining your grammar, checking tense consistency, and selecting the most impactful vocabulary. But the critical transition is moving immediately from that written script to speaking aloud practice.
Because if you only practice silently in your head,
you'll sound halting and robotic when you try to deliver it under pressure. You have to practice saying those complex sentences quickly, smoothly, and conversationally.
And we should briefly acknowledge the different formats, right? Because the preparation changes based on the structure.
Precisely. Knowing if you're facing a behavioral interview, which demands the STAR method, or a situational interview, which asks for hypothetical, future-oriented answers that allows you to structure your story bank appropriately. Technical interviews require mastery of jargon, while panel or video interviews demand specific attention to nonverbals. Your preparation has to be format specific.
We've built the linguistic engine. Now we load the powerful fuel storytelling. And here's where it gets really interesting. We're moving from just accurate communication to strategic persuasion.
This is the element that transforms a qualified candidate into an unforgettable hire.
Because most job seekers just rely on these abstract claims. I'm a strong leader. I have excellent problem-solving skills.
They're professional platitudes. They are just bullet points that merge into a sea of other bullet points. They completely fail the test of being memorable.
They really do.
Now contrast that with a detailed narrative demonstrating leadership in action. When the project timeline compressed unexpectedly, I saw morale was plummeting. So my action was to step up, organize an immediate off-site strategy session, and reassign roles based on psychological strengths, not just technical skills. That motivated the team and allowed us to deliver 2 days early.
Now that is tangible. The claim is proven through the context, the action, and the result. Hashtag tag 2.1. Why stories are innate and memorable.
So why does narrative hold such persuasive power?
It's because stories resonate, right? They're the innate language of human experience. They appeal to emotions, they create empathy, and they allow the interviewer to momentarily step into your shoes.
Whereas facts appeal primarily to logic and analysis. But a story allows the candidate to become relatable, human. And that connection is absolutely vital for building trust.
It's the old adage, show, don't just tell.
It is. When you share a narrative about overcoming a failure, you aren't just telling them you're resilient, you are showing them the moment you were down, describing the actions you took, and demonstrating the lesson you learned. And critically, retention is massively enhanced. People just remember characters and plot and context far better than they remember abstract data or a list of responsibilities. Hashtag tag 2.2, the neuroscience of narrative.
Let's get into the science of this, because this is where the strategic advantage really shines. It's not just that stories are nice to listen to, our brains are literally wired to process them differently.
Research confirms that stories activate more parts of the brain than simple facts do. The motor cortex, the sensory cortex, other areas that are associated with actually experiencing the event. And this widespread activation leads directly to enhanced retention.
And then there's this incredible concept of neural coupling. It sounds complex, but let's make it actionable for our listener.
Neural coupling is essentially shared brain activity. Think of it like a shared simulation. When you tell a compelling story, the listener's brain activity actually synchronizes with yours.
So they're not just hearing about my experience.
They are, in a very real neurological sense, feeling or simulating the experience with you. And this creates a profound shared reality, which is the very definition of deep connection and rapport.
Wow. So if I describe the stress of a deadline, the interviewer literally feels a microdose of that stress alongside me, which makes my eventual solution that much more impactful.
Precisely. And this is amplified by the release of oxytocin. Emotional, engaging narratives, especially those that involve a challenge overcome or a little bit of vulnerability shared, can trigger the release of oxytocin.
The hormone associated with trust, bonding, and empathy.
Exactly.
So this is the critical insight we need to leverage. How do we strategically use the knowledge that oxytocin builds trust?
It means your story shouldn't just be a list of flawless successes. Trust is built through shared struggle. You should incorporate a moment of tension or minor vulnerability early on in the situation part of your story. This helps the interviewer connect emotionally, which triggers that trust response and makes them much more receptive to the details of your eventual success. It's a deliberate strategy to build rapport on a biological level. Hashtag tag 2.3, key principles for effective interview storytelling.
So armed with this neuroscience, how do we craft a story that lands perfectly? Principle 1 has to be absolute relevance.
If the story doesn't directly address a job requirement, a company value, or a critical skill the interviewer is assessing, don't use it. Every single detail must serve the ultimate purpose of demonstrating your fit. You have to prune anything that distracts from the key skill being highlighted.
Principle 2, authenticity and clarity.
Authenticity is the mechanism that unlocks that oxytocin response we talked about. You have to believe the story and deliver it genuinely. And for clarity, your story must follow a logical flow, a clear beginning, middle, and end. The STAR method, which we'll analyze next, provides that essential framework.
Principle 3, conciseness. We have to respect their time.
High impact, high efficiency. Most story-based answers should target somewhere between 90 seconds and 2 minutes. If your story needs 3 minutes, it probably has too many irrelevant details. Practice timing your stories and removing any unnecessary context.
And finally, the essential element that's so often overlooked, impact. The so what?
This is non-negotiable. After you detail your results, you must explicitly state the long-term impact, the lesson you learned, and how it directly benefits the company you're applying to. If the interviewer has to mentally connect the dots between your past success and their current needs, you have failed. You have to do that strategic connection for them.
Okay, so the STAR method: situation, task, action, result. It's the gold standard for behavioral interviews globally. It's not just a structure, it's really a template for persuasive argumentation.
And for anyone interviewing for global roles, especially professional English learners, STAR provides immense psychological comfort. It removes the stress of trying to freestyle a perfect narrative, and it ensures every answer contains that critical evidence, the action, and the proof of value, the result.
Right. So the S is the setup. You need to provide just enough context to establish the stakes, but not so much that you bore the listener. Keep it brief and focused.
Exactly. Focus on including the essential actors clients, key stakeholders, your team, the core challenge, and the time frame. The key strategy here is pruning. Immediately eliminate anything that doesn't contribute to defining the problem you were about to solve.
Let's revisit our project manager example, and we'll expand on this analysis through the next few segments.
The situation. In my previous role as a project manager for a financial services tech firm, we were racing toward a critical year-end deadline to launch a new regulatory compliance software module. The complexity was compounded because we were integrating a new third-party AI system, a system which unexpectedly experienced a critical data integrity failure 3 weeks before the mandated launch date.
Okay, that immediately establishes high stakes. You've got a critical deadline, new technology, and a massive unexpected failure.
Now for the T, this is where you define your specific mandate. Why were you the person responsible for solving the problem? And the constraints are often just as important as the objective here.
So you detail your specific objective, your personal role, and any limits placed on you, like budget or team size or a hard timeline.
Right. For our project manager, my explicit task was to lead the cross-functional remediation team, which consisted of 6 engineers and 2 legal specialists, to diagnose and resolve the data integrity failure and ensure the module launched on time. A task complicated by the fact that the failure required 80 hours of immediate effort, but we only had 40 man-hours budgeted remaining for the entire 3-week period.
Wow. Okay, now we know the difficulty. The stakes are high regulatory compliance, the team is small, and the resource constraints are severe. 80 hours of work with only 40 hours of budget.
And this brings us to the A. This is the heart of your story, the most persuasive section. This is not about what the team did. It's about what you specifically initiated, executed, and owned. Use those strong, active I statements we discussed earlier.
And this is the section that needs to be elaborated on extensively. We need to demonstrate problem solving, negotiation, and leadership all in action.
Let's start with leadership. Recognizing the stress and the need for immediate, transparent communication, I instituted a war room approach, a dedicated physical and digital space, and mandated twice daily stand-up meetings to maintain clarity and accountability.
So action 1 is defining clear processes and communication. What about that resource problem?
I personally conducted an intensive triage process, isolating the corrupted data streams and immediately reprioritizing the tasks. I quickly realized we needed external expertise, so I negotiated directly with a third-party AI vendor, leveraging our long-term contract value to secure dedicated off-hour specialist support for 24 hours at no additional cost, effectively solving that 80-hour constraint.
That is critical. Negotiation under pressure to mitigate a resource constraint. And what about the technical solution and skills demonstration?
Simultaneously, I spearheaded the development of a temporary data validation layer. I actually used my background in scripting to create a patch that stabilized the most critical compliance functions first. This involved coordinating the legal team's requirements with the engineering team's technical limitations, demonstrating robust cross-functional problem-solving and technical translation skills.
That one action section, broken down like that, details process management, high-stakes negotiation, resource allocation, technical contribution, and cross-functional leadership. It's an incredibly dense demonstration of value.
And the R is the payoff.
Yeah.
You must conclude with quantifiable, concrete evidence of success. Vague success is forgettable. Measurable success is undeniable.
Right. We need metrics, percentages, figures, showing the benefit to the company.
So to conclude our project manager narrative, as a direct result of initiating the war room and securing that external support, we not only resolved the data integrity failure, but launched the compliance module successfully on time, avoiding potential regulatory fines estimated at over $500,000. Furthermore, the stabilization patch I created reduced data processing errors by 25% post-launch, leading to a 10% measurable reduction in client support tickets related to this feature in Q1. I demonstrated resilience under extreme pressure and validated the importance of leveraging stakeholder relationships to solve unforeseen crises.
That is a phenomenal result. Not only did they avoid a massive loss, that $500,000 fine, but they also created measurable future efficiency. A 25% reduction in errors, 10% reduction in support tickets. That's the language of ROI.
To take this from excellent to indispensable, you have to close the loop with the so what. This is where you explicitly link your historical success to the interviewer's current needs.
You cannot rely on them making the connection themselves. You have to articulate it for them.
Exactly. The conclusion needs a line like this. This experience makes me uniquely confident that I can manage the complex regulatory landscape required for this position at company name. Specifically, my ability to secure fast, low-cost external expertise means I can mitigate your current resource constraints on Project X, ensuring we avoid delays and maximize efficiency from day one.
And finally, including that growth mindset, showing you don't just solve problems, but you evolve from them.
Show that self-awareness. The lesson learned here might be, I learned the critical importance of embedding risk assessment into vendor selection contracts early in the cycle, which is a process improvement I plan to champion here at your company to prevent similar failures.
And that demonstrates that your experience translates directly into systematic improvement for their organization.
The best way to internalize STAR is to see it applied to the most common, complex interview questions. We're going to look at 4 archetypes now, providing model answers and a detailed strategic analysis for each.
And these examples should serve as a template for you to build your own story bank. Remember, you need the flexibility to adapt these narratives based on the specific role you're applying for. Hashtag 4.1, tell me about yourself. The professional narrativer.
This is the ultimate narrative opening. It is not your resume in chronological order.
No, it's a professional highlight reel that links your past passion to this current opportunity.
The strategic goal here is alignment. We frame the answer not as history, but as a deliberate journey that has logically led you to this exact chair. Let's use the marketing professional example. Expert speaker, modeling ST. My career focus has always been driving measurable revenue from emerging digital channels. In 2022, my team was tasked with launching a new, highly specialized B2B product line, but traditional digital advertising was proving prohibitively expensive, leading to a negative ROI on our initial trials. The challenge was clear. We needed a high-trust, low-cost acquisition channel that nobody else in our industry was tapping.
Okay, so that sets up the high cost and the problem. Now the action needs to demonstrate innovation and diligence. Expert speaker, modeling A. I immediately pivoted our strategy to focus on a hyper-targeted micro-influencer model, identifying industry-specific key opinion leaders who had audiences of less than 5,000, but whose trust was absolute. This required meticulous, personalized research to build genuine relationships. I personally reviewed over 150 potential partners. I then established a robust, custom-built tracking system that allowed us to precisely measure influence to conversion, eliminating the ambiguity inherent in traditional influencer marketing. That shows initiative, research, technical tracking skills. What was the quantifiable result? Expert speaker, modeling ROI. This initiative was a massive success. It resulted in a 30% increase in brand mentions among our core client demographic and generated a measurable 15% rise in direct sales for that product line within 3 months, all while cutting our customer acquisition cost by 40%. This experience validated my belief in data-driven innovation, and that is precisely why I am here. I am eager to apply the successful track record of finding high ROI, untapped channels to your current challenges in market diversification. Expert speaker, modeling our so one. Hashtag 4.2, why do you want to work here? Mission alignment. This question is such a trap if you just offer flattery. The most powerful response is to demonstrate alignment between your past technical contributions and the company's core mission or values.
It has to be genuine. Let's use a software engineer applying to a sustainable technology company. Expert speaker, modeling ST. I've long been passionate about technical efficiency driving tangible environmental benefits. At my previous firm, we utilized a massive data processing module that, while functional, was known to be a huge energy drain. My self-mandated task was to redesign this module to prioritize speed and efficiency, aligning with the personal belief that sustainability should be baked into engineering design.
So that establishes the personal mandate tied to a value. Now for the deep technical action. Expert speaker, modeling A. I spearheaded the adoption of a new cutting-edge machine learning framework designed specifically for parallel processing, which required me to lead 4 internal workshops to get my colleagues up to speed. Crucially, I gathered extensive user feedback to optimize the interface, ensuring that the newfound technical speed translated into user-friendly diagnostic tools that highlighted energy inefficiencies. And the success must be tied back to that green mission. Expert speaker, modeling ARSO. Quote, the updated module led to a 20% reduction in processing time, a significant cut in server energy demand. More importantly, it enabled our clients to identify resource waste more effectively, resulting in an average 10% decrease in their overall energy consumption within 6 months. This impact is what motivates me. Given company name's leadership commitment to a greener future, I see this role as the perfect opportunity to scale my expertise in building high-efficiency, mission-aligned technical solutions. Expert speaker, modeling ARSO what? Hashtag tag 4.3. Describe a time you faced a challenge failure. Resilience and learning. This question is designed to test your resilience and self-awareness. You should never blame others. You have to focus the narrative on the process of recovery and the resulting lesson learned.
Right. The failure is just the setting. The learning is the result. So our sales representative example faced the challenge of acquiring a huge client, Global Connect, that was fiercely loyal to a dominant competitor. Initial pitches were just ignored. Expert speaker, modeling ST. My task was to secure Global Connect as a key client in Q3, a goal vital to our annual targets. However, the client had an entrenched decade-long relationship with competitor X, and my initial product-focused pitches were repeatedly declined without explanation, putting my Q3 goal in serious jeopardy.
So the action here needs to demonstrate a fundamental pivot in strategy. Expert speaker, modeling A. Instead of pushing more generic products, I took 3 days offline to dive deep into Global Connect's last 3 annual reports and their recent investor calls. I identified a major new strategic initiative focused on European market expansion, a domain where competitor X was known to be weak. I completely discarded my existing pitch, reframing our product as the specific, tailored solution to their unique upcoming European strategic challenge. I then secured a follow-up meeting by promising only a 15-minute presentation focusing exclusively on their expansion risk mitigation. That's resilience and deep analytical work. What was the result? Expert speaker, modeling ARSO what? My tailored presentation successfully secured the initial phased contract, leading to a $1.2 million revenue stream in Q4 and meeting my annual target. The key lesson here was transformative. In high-stakes sales, success hinges not on selling products, but on consultative expertise, truly understanding and addressing a client's deepest, most strategic pain points. This approach to deeply understanding client strategy is precisely what I bring to the table as I look to help company name secure its next tier of enterprise clients. Expert speaker, modeling ARSO what? Hashtag tag 4.4. Describe a time you demonstrated leadership, guiding through chaos. Leadership is demonstrated when the plan fails, not when it succeeds smoothly. So this story has to show your ability to rally people, manage pressure, and maintain ethical decision-making.
Right. The team lead example describes pure chaos, an unexpected, complex bug found just before a major software release, leading to plummeting team morale. Expert speaker, modeling ST. We were 72 hours from the launch of our flagship platform update, a release vital to our stock valuation, when a new, complex system integration bug emerged that seemed insurmountable. My 12-person team was exhausted, morale was dangerously low, and finger-pointing had begun.
So the action must demonstrate guiding the team through both emotional and technical pressure. Expert speaker, modeling A. My first action was to stabilize the environment. I immediately called a meeting, not to assign blame, but to acknowledge the stress and define a collective objective. I facilitated a collaborative bug bash, assigning tasks based on demonstrated individual strengths and providing immediate, transparent updates to senior management, which shielded the team from external pressure. Crucially, I personally stayed offline for 18 continuous hours, taking on the hardest debugging tasks myself to alleviate the burden on the junior developers. That's leadership through contribution and protection. The result: expert speaker, modeling ARSO what? The bug was isolated and fixed within 48 hours, and the release went ahead successfully with 0 critical bugs reported post-launch. The long-term impact was a massive boost in team cohesion, evidenced by a 20% reduction in inter-team conflicts in the following quarter. This experience confirmed for me that true leadership lies in transparency, collaborative problem-solving, and personal contribution under pressure qualities I am eager to apply to guide your growing engineering department. Okay, we've mastered the structure and the content. Now, how do we add that final polish? We're moving beyond just functional delivery to stylistic excellence, the kind of nuance that really makes a story shine.
This is all about elevating your command of English and using delivery techniques to control the listener's attention and their emotional response.
So not every demonstration needs a full star breakdown. Sometimes you just need a quick, sharp anecdote to highlight a single trait like resourcefulness or curiosity.
These are your quick draw examples. They're perfect for less formal questions or for moments when the interviewers seem skeptical. And the structure should just be quick problem, immediate action, single result, expert speaker, modeling anecdote. When a major client unexpectedly requested a legacy report that IT estimated would take 4 days to retrieve from the archive database, I knew we couldn't wait. Instead of escalating, I remembered I had taken the time to shadow the IT team leader last year, so I contacted him directly, and using a workaround he had shown me, I successfully pulled the critical data myself within 45 minutes, allowing us to close the deal that afternoon.
Wow. That 45-second story perfectly demonstrates initiative, networking, technical curiosity, and speed. It's so efficient. Hashtag tag 5.2 vivid language and imagery.
This is where you leverage your expanded vocabulary to make the listener actually visualize the experience. We are using imagery to enhance memory retention.
And we have to move past dull descriptions.
Right. So instead of the bland, "It was a hard project," you paint a picture. The project was a labyrinth of interconnected challenges, demanding relenting problem solving and a pivotal shift in our operational strategy. You notice the concrete, strong adjectives and metaphorical nouns.
And using metaphors and similes can also be very powerful if you use them sparingly and professionally.
They show an advanced command of the language. Describing a high-performing team as a well-oiled machine is effective. Or describing the difficulty of raw data like this. The data was as dense as a jungle. We had to use the analytical tools to cut a clear path toward actionable insight. These phrases are memorable, and they make abstract tasks visual.
We talked about flow earlier, but we really need to talk about varying the pace. A monotone delivery will kill even the best story.
You have to avoid that steady conversational hum. You should naturally speak a little faster when you're describing action or excitement or a moment of rapid problem solving. But you must slow down and lower your tone for crucial details, analytical insights, or moments of reflection. That signals their importance.
And the strategic pause, that moment of intentional silence.
The strategic pause is the mark of a confident speaker. It builds anticipation. Use a pause right before delivering the result, the R in STAR, or before revealing a major lesson learned. For example, we faced that seemingly insurmountable obstacle for 72 hours. Pause for 3 seconds. But the next morning, an idea sparked that changed everything.
That silence just draws the listener in and emphasizes what comes next.
You can't predict every question, especially situational ones. So the strategy is not to memorize scripts, but to build a versatile story bank.
Okay, what does that look like?
Your story bank should contain, say, 5 to 7 robust professional experiences, each one highlighting a different core skill. So one for innovation, one for conflict resolution, one for resilience, one for teamwork, one for negotiation, and so on. And crucially, each story should be documented using the STAR structure.
And this allows for rapid adaptation, which is the key to handling the unexpected.
Exactly. If you prepared a story about innovation, designing a new ML framework, and you're unexpectedly asked about conflict resolution, you don't panic. You scan your bank and you recall that innovation story, but you quickly reframe the narrative to focus on how you mediated the disagreements between the engineering team and the design team during the framework development.
So the core events are the same, but the focus just shifts to the skill they asked about.
Right. This flexibility prevents you from drawing a blank. Hashtag 5.5, the future story.
Even our career aspirations should be framed narratively. We're not just listing targets. We're telling a future story of what we will accomplish for them.
You have to frame your goals as a projected professional journey within their organization. Your future story should explicitly detail how you envision yourself contributing to the company's specific, publicly stated objectives.
Which requires deep research into their published strategy.
Yes. Don't say, "I see myself in a leadership position." Instead say, "Building on my experience in leading successful product launches, I envision myself at company name, not just overseeing projects, but contributing directly to your stated goal of securing 20% market share in the APAC region by leveraging my experience in setting up scalable international tracking systems."
That demonstrates research, alignment, and an immediate understanding of the value you offer in their future.
We've reached the final stage. Continuous refinement. All the knowledge in the world is useless without meticulous practice.
And this stage demands ruthless critical self-assessment and targeted external feedback. Hashtag tag 6.1, critical self-assessment, self-recording.
Self-recording is mandatory.
So what specific checklist should you use when reviewing your own video and audio answers?
First, content. Did I hit all 4 points of STAR? Did I quantify my result? Second, language. Did I use strong active verbs? Did I avoid contractions and filler words? Third, delivery. Was my place appropriate? Did I use strategic pauses? And fourth, nonverbal. Was my eye contact steady? Was my posture open and confident? Did I smile at the opening?
This rigorous objective review is the only way to spot the habits you're unconscious of. Hashtag tag 6.2 peer feedback and vocabulary building.
Right. And you need to seek specific targeted critique from practice partners or mentors. Don't just ask them if they understood you.
Ask if the delivery felt natural.
Exactly. Ask for feedback on clarity, on confidence, on linguistic naturalness. Did any phrase sound too much like it was translated directly from your native language? Did the grammar sound forced?
And the vocabulary has to be constantly sharpened.
Yes. Keep that dedicated list of strong action verbs and impactful adjectives. Review the job description and create a micro list of 10 words specific to that role. So it's a mitigation role. You'd use words like mitigated, circumvented, resolved, contained. Use a thesaurus to replace weak words like good with pivotal, or helped with facilitated or championed. Hashtag tag 6.3 confidence building techniques.
Confidence is just so crucial, especially when you're operating in a second language.
And role-playing is an essential desensitization tool. Simulate the actual interview environment. Dress up, use the same lighting, practice the formal entry and exit procedures. This reduces the stress and novelty of the actual event, and it makes your delivery feel like a practiced performance, not an anxious improvisation.
And managing nerves is non-negotiable.
Incorporate visualization and mindfulness. Mentally walk through the entire scenario, visualizing success and clear articulation. And right before the interview starts, use deep abdominal breathing exercises. Slowing your heart rate and calming your physiology allows your cognitive resources to focus entirely on your message rather than your fear.
Our final advanced skill. An interview is a dance, not a monologue. You have to actively listen and tailor your responses in real time.
You have to listen for explicit cues and repeating keywords from the interviewer. If they mention the word scaling 3 times in the preamble, you have to weave scalability into your result section, even if it wasn't the main focus of your prepared story. You're demonstrating alignment by speaking directly to their immediate concerns.
And finally, the mark of a true professional is knowing when to ask for clarification.
Never guess. If a question is complex or unclear, asking a precise clarifying question is a sign of professionalism and attention to detail, not incompetence. Use phrases like, "Could you please elaborate on what you mean by customer-centric growth in this context?" Or, "To ensure I answer effectively, are you asking about a challenge related to technical implementation or team dynamics?"
This guarantees your carefully prepared story answers the exact question they posed.
It does.
That brings us to the end of our deep dive into interview mastery. We've covered everything from the tactical use of active verbs to the neuroscience of building trust through narrative.
And our synthesis is this: a robust linguistic foundation precision in professional English. That's the cost of entry. But strategic storytelling via the STAR method is the tool that transforms your flat resume into a vivid, compelling, and utterly memorable narrative. It allows you to demonstrate your past value as concrete proof of your future capability.
So what does this all mean?
It means that every challenge you've overcome, every initiative you have championed, every failure you have learned from, these are not just items on a list. They are a rich, complex collection of unique experiences and profound lessons. The ultimate challenge now is to embrace the potential of each one of those experiences to be a compelling story, a story that truly sets you apart and makes you the inevitable choice in the competitive arena of global talent.
Go tell that unique story and change your career trajectory.